Well, hello and welcome to Energy Before Matter Life Coaching. It is such a pleasure to be doing this interview. I'm Jackie, and I am here to introduce a really good friend of mine, Anita. And yeah, say hi, Anita.
Hello, everybody.
Anita is a certified holistic health eating psychology coach and teacher, and a body image expert who teaches women how to release body hate and their struggles with chronic dieting and use pleasure as a guiding force in creating a life that they truly love and, as we say all the time, deserve. Her proven methods are based on mind body nutrition, dynamic eating, psychology, and soulful, sensual strategies that emphasize coming into a more nurturing relationship with your body, with food, and living your most authentic life. So, welcome to my company and website and my life coaching and everything else that accompanies it. How are things going today?
Things are going good. I'm so proud of you for getting it going and just putting your work out in the world. So I really feel honored that you asked me to be here in this space with you. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks. And so can you tell me a little bit about your story, where you got started and what made you move into this side of things?
Yeah. So I think like a lot of us that move into coaching, or really a lot of our work in the world, right? It often stems from our own pain and struggle. And so, I was a girl who struggled for many, many years with her weight and with food and with a really horrific body image, and just really just being incredibly hard on myself. And I can remember, kind of putting myself on my first diet and creating a diet for myself at age 9, even though I was not a child that had, a quote unquote weight problem.
Mm.
I was a pretty thin kid, but, I really observed that dieting mentality in my own home, my mom, my sister, my relatives talking about it, and really made that connection that, oh, well, dieting is just part of being a woman. Like that's just what you do as a woman. You diet and you think consciously about your weight and your shape and your size. And so I got that message early on. And that was really sort of where that struggle with weight and food and body image began, and just kept progressing as the years went on. I can remember, I have a million and one stories for you, but I can remember at one point in high school, putting myself on 1,000 calories a day and working out for 2 hours a day. And a lot of other horrible, horrible diets that I put myself on. But the ironic part is that I actually never really lost weight. So I had very kind of disordered eating behaviors, right?
Oh, for
But
sure.
I didn't get the result that I wanted. So despite all my restricting, my weight just increased more and more year after year. So no matter how much I did or how much I restricted, I couldn't seem to lose the weight. In fact, the problem got worse, right? So then I felt even more and more ashamed and guilty and just confused about all of this. Like, how do I make sense about food and weight and my body? Like, what's happening? And the ironic twist, I'm really kind of condensing the story, but there was a point in time at about like 2005 or so where I actually was, for the first time, not on a diet of some sort. I had met a guy who was my boyfriend for 2.5 years, wonderful guy, really loved and adored me at the shape and size that I was. And we were actually having a relationship and a life together, which meant, going to dinner and being social. So that meant that I couldn't sort of really carefully calculate every calorie I was having, or have my frozen, Weight Watchers meal, or my zero sugar frozen yogurt for dinner kind of insanity that I was doing. I had to go about the business of living my life. And the long and short of that, it was that I started to release weight in that year, and it really baffled me because I wasn't, for the first time, being so hard on myself and having this no pain, no gain mentality, and just doing workouts I hated and eating food I hated to try to lose weight. I was actually enjoying my life and eating food that I loved, eating real food, and just going about the business of living the life I wanted. And I was getting my teaching credential at the time. And that really put me on the path to question health, nutrition, and wellness. And like, well, if that thing that I was doing for so many years didn't work, and I was promised to kind of get, this carrot that already dangles in front of you of like weight loss and the happy ending, and I'm doing this other thing over here, which is what I've been told wouldn't work, but it is working, then what's the real story? And that kind of put me on my path to questioning and learning, first more about nutrition, and then really getting into the psychological, emotional, and spiritual components that go into our relationship with body and food. And so I, made that my life's work, and to really help other women feel empowered in that area. And so it's not really about, I'm not a weight loss coach. Weight loss can sometimes be a happy side effect if that's indeed what the body needs. But my main intention is for women to feel empowered around the relationship with their body and with food. And when they can start to trust themselves in this arena, it often unfolds in other ways in their lives where they start to trust themselves in other parts of their lives. And really the gateway for a lot of that is joy and pleasure and sensuality.
Wow, I love what you're saying, because like your story, I hated my body for the longest time. Being a kid, I was athletic, and I wasn't overweight, but I had big shoulders, I had no chest. I would have friends that would comment on my body. I never felt comfortable with who I was growing up, and I know most of us aren't. And being a school teacher as well, an elementary school teacher, seeing girls tell me that they can't eat things because they'll get fat is so heartbreaking. And the other thing that I think is so important you're saying is, what I'm hearing is that it's a lot more than just exercising and doing this thing. Because I was the same when I lived in Beijing. I gained enough weight. I was eating out a lot. I didn't exercise. I wasn't having a balanced enough lifestyle. And I was also at that time in probably the lowest point I've been in almost my entire life. And so when I came to Italy, it was the same thing. Like, I was still eating out. I was going out more. I was walking. I was really finding joy in my life. And just a side effect of that was me losing the weight. And so over the year of being here, I lost a lot of the weight that I had. And now it's changed a lot more because I've pushed myself, pushed my boundaries to do this triathlon.
Right.
But I've fallen in love with not only my body image, but who I am as a person. And those two really go hand in hand. So I think that's really important what you're saying and it's such a beautiful thing to make it your life's work.
Absolutely. And I think the thing that's different, right, and that I just want to highlight a point you said about pushing yourself and what you've been doing physically, is that I know even from us talking, it's not about, because sometimes one thing I talk a lot about women is pursuing joyful movement as opposed to no pain, no gain. And one thing that people ask me about in that is well, does that mean that I can't do something challenging? It's absolutely not. You can go and do something that, challenge yourself physically if that's what you're inclined to do. But it's all about where the intention is coming from. If it's coming from a place of you're interested in it, you're excited about it, it fills you up, it makes your life bigger. It's not about coming from a place of, I have to punish myself because of my shape. I have to punish myself because of my food sins that I committed yesterday or this week. It's all about the place in which it's originating from that changes it. You can do the same thing, but it's what's the intention behind it? What's the energy behind it? And so your energy behind it is from a really great place, right? And so but someone else could have that same experience, and the intention behind it is different. And so the results and how they feel in their body is different. So intention is everything.
It's so true. Intention is everything. And I guess that leads into the next question as to, why do you think sensuality, pleasure, and joy is so important? What exactly about it is important to transform your relationship with your food, with what we eat and our body?
Yeah. So a lot of times, I just want to say something about sensuality. A lot of times when I say the word sensuality, people's kind of their one eyebrow goes up. and they have this look on their face. And so they immediately go to sexuality, sensuality being sexuality. And, and it's not that we want to have guilt and shame about sexuality either, but I also want to say that they're not one and the same. Sensuality can be a huge component, and it is a huge component of sexuality, but sensuality on its own is not necessarily sexuality. Sensuality, how I'm using it, is literally being in the senses, right? And I always say with the six senses, all of our senses, including our sense of intuition and instinct, right? And so it's a big component because when you think about it, right? I was just telling you that I went to this fitness expo yesterday, right? So people are on the hunt for like the perfect diet and the perfect way to eat, and like what's going to get me the best results, whether it's I want to, do this weightlifting competition, so I want to have a certain aesthetic, or I just want to lose weight, or whatever it might be. So it's like the hunt for the perfect diet. And what we lose on that way is our sensual self. We're looking always on the outside, right? This expert to tell me this, right? This pill that I should take, or this workout I'm supposed to do 4 times a week this way, and then I'm going to get what I want. And if I eat this way, this person told me, then I should feel this way, as opposed to what's really going on inside. What's my body saying? What's my true hunger saying? What foods am I feel like I'm being drawn to right now? A lot of my clients tell me, well, I don't know when to stop unless someone tells me what a portion size is supposed to look like, or my food is carefully weighed. I'm not going to know when to stop. And that's because we've been cut off from our sensual self. When we sit down to eat, and I say, instead of being a mindful eater, be a sensual eater. Bring all of yourself to the table. So we met in Italy, you and I met in Italy, and I did my pleasure path retreat in Italy. And the reason I did the retreat in Italy is because Italians are so in tune with that, right? Of like bringing their whole self to the table. You sit down for a meal. It's about slow. It's about taste. It's about the experience of talking with someone, the aroma, how things look aesthetically. When you bring all those things to the table, okay, then your true appetite can emerge, and you can find that place of what enough feels like, right? And the body also relaxes in that state. When we are in a relaxed state, or our cortisol goes down, we're actually able to achieve the results we want to. When we're in that stress state, and we're still expecting, again, some outside influence to tell me what enough looks like, to tell me what the perfect thing on my plate should be like, we lose that sense of self. That happens on our plate, but then it also happens in our life, because what if when I start talking with clients, we see a lot of parallels. Well, yeah, I'm doing this with food, but what else am I doing that? Wow, I'm always looking for someone to tell me what was the next great career path, or what I should do next, or what actually, I know this relationship or this job or this situation I'm in isn't really making me happy, but I kind of tuned that part off and was looking outside for the input. So what we do on our plate is often a parallel for what we're doing in our lives. So we can learn to trust our bodies again, and have a dialogue with our bodies, and go, wow, I had that meal, and you know what? Now I'm not feeling so great. Connection. Oh, maybe eating lots of dairy doesn't work for me, or vice versa. Wow, I couldn't eat dairy 2 years ago. Now I have that. I actually feel okay. Wow, something shifted. But we have to start that dialogue, and it can only happen when we're in the senses. We can't be dulled out and turned off.
Well, that's definitely something that's so important with my readers, because I often discuss the idea of not going externally to find our fulfillment. We really need to start digging deep and dirty within ourselves. And that's the hardest part. Is it's so easy to be critical on the outside, even on our, body image, or be critical of what we're eating, everything outside of ourselves. But it's so hard to go inside of ourselves and figure out, okay, what am I really feeling? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do I hear when I hear that? And trying to readjust those beliefs, because I think what happens is when we're coming from a place of always looking for things externally to fix us, we go through this desperation. We're like, oh my gosh, I need to do this, and I need to do this. And you're always in a rush. And that includes with eating. When we're desperate, we tend to overeat or undereat. I know when I'm stressed, I don't eat. And so it's, instead of, when we get into that state, I think it's so important to stop, become aware, and start to readjust. Okay, why am I feeling this way? You're on cue. The connection is so important to make. If we can make that connection, then a lot of those issues and the problems can switch into an opportunity instead.
Exactly. It's perfect segue, because what you said, opportunity, right, is like, that's a lot of what I invite my clients to, is that like, we're going to use what your struggle is with food, weight, and body as an opening, as a doorway into something else. Because when you think about it, right, a lot of things are sold as like, what's the quickest solution, right? And I get that, right? When you're, at my heaviest, I was 55 pounds heavier. So I understand that you want to lose the weight yesterday. I get it. And I totally get that one. And I'm not trying to diminish those feelings. In fact, I want to invite those feelings in. Like, that's how you're feeling. But let's be honest about how you're feeling. Let's be honest about what you really want. Let's not try to like sugarcoat it, make it sound nice, or PC or whatever. Let's be honest about what's really happening. But at the same time, we actually won it yesterday, but the ironic part is we also have all the time in the world. And you know what I mean by that is like, let's use it as an opportunity, because if we just keep trying to move the furniture around, and what I mean by that is like, okay, I'm just going to do this low carb thing for 2 weeks and try to drop weight really, really, really fast. Okay, maybe you will, but if in 3 weeks, then all the weight is back on and you're doing this back and forth, again, we're just sort of moving the furniture around. But what if maybe we will try a different nutritional approach? That's cool. And we'll see how your body reacts, and we'll see how you feel. Most importantly, how you feel. Oh, well, I feel better actually not having this or that. And I feel better adding this in. But at the same time, what's sort of the key behaviors happening? So if the thing is like, I'm always overeating, or I overeat at night, well, let's get interested in what's happening beneath that. Is it you're lonely, you're unsatisfied in your job, you're chronically stressed? Why are you chronically stressed? Let's get to the sort of the root reasons, and we'll move some furniture around, but maybe we'll also, take everything out of the damn house and rebuild the foundation too. So it's now on different footing.
No, I think that's so important, because if we want transformation, the one thing we have to learn is it's not instant. It's a growth, and it does take rebuilding those foundations, because a lot of times, at least on my end of coaching, it comes from our first few chakras. The first 3 chakras are the ones that are from our past. Those are our foundations. And a lot of the times we have to change those in order to find what we're looking for, to find those answers. And, the thing that I love that you say is we can move stuff around, but in the end, it's going to be the same.
Right.
What we need to do is really start to look at those carefully and decide if they're the right things in that moment.
Right. Exactly. So I'm all for, hey, you want to try a nutritional approach? Great. But what, again, like we were just saying, intention, what's coming behind that? Am I doing it because I'm in a place of self-loathing about myself and just feeling I'm not good enough? Or am I, hey, I really want to have food kind of complement my life and figure out a way in which I can relate with food that's actually going to make my life bigger. And hey, if I keep eating the way I am, I don't feel as well, right? Maybe I'm under eating, right? Or I'm overeating, whatever it might be, whatever that is for that individual. So let me see if I'm going to just experiment and see how I respond to that. So there's a lightness there, as opposed to, oh my God, this has to work, right? So we got to do both things. Yeah, we got to move some things around, but again, it's being willing to kind of go underneath the hood a bit.
Yeah, I'm hearing curiosity and permission.
Yes.
Being curious about that. Yeah.
I always say that to clients. I tell them, I say, I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, it would be 2 C's like Chanel, but it's not. But it would be compassion and curiosity. Because the moment that you go into judgment with yourself or somebody else, right, your curiosity is cut off. There's not an opening. You don't have to like what someone did. You don't have to necessarily maybe even like the choices you've made, but can you get interested in it? And then with that interest, can you be compassionate? If you're doing something and then you fall back into old habit, instead of like berating yourself and talking horribly to yourself, can you have and invoke the most loving and kind voice possible?
Exactly.
And start to, it's like, it's to that point. I've even said to clients, like, when I need to be compassionate to myself, the word that comes up for me is sweetheart. Like, to say like, sweetheart, what do you need? Like, because that's what the most sweet and kind person would, in my mind, would say to me in a moment where I'm feeling defeated.
Yeah. And for me, it's forgiveness as well. Giving yourself
Yeah.
the ability to forgive yourself and say, you know what? I ate that brownie. I know I shouldn't have, but I'm sorry. And I'm going to move on and not let
Yeah.
it
And move
sit in
on.
me.
Yeah. And be interested. So, because sometimes, and that's the big thing too, navigating with clients is like, okay, is this some like emotional stuff or is it just like a hunger thing? Like if maybe it was something emotionally was happening and like I was having a little, and I'm always honest. I'm like, yo, I'm not Moses on the mountain. I have my moments and
Don't we
it was like
all?
a few weeks ago, I was like dealing with some craziness with a new bed I had. And it was just, and I was like eating this like gluten-free biscotti I'd made. I'm like, all right, girl, put the biscotti down. You had enough. Let's get to the root of what's happening. But yeah, I was obviously emotionally eating, right? And then other times we eat because it's like, oh my gosh, well, I'll talk to a client. I'm like, well, you haven't eaten in 6 hours. Your blood sugar was probably pretty low. So yeah, of course you're going to reach for the first thing there. So some things are at a deeper level and some things are just practical things. And so we just have to sort of like know when to ask ourselves, these kinds of questions and maybe just put some practical things into place, right?
Awesome. No, it's a really good point. So I guess talking about that practicality is, where do you start? Where do we start in this process if we want to
Yeah,
find a good relationship between our body and food with pleasure and joy, especially if we're not used to it, especially if
absolutely.
we haven't done it before?
Because I think pleasure and joy feels like a luxury. Like that's how, like, it's especially in this country, in the United States. I
Mm.
think Italians are a little more in touch with that. Like, why wouldn't I need a friend for aperitivo? Of course I would. Like,
Oh, girl, that was our life when you were here.
I'm like, it's just like, of course you're going to do that. Why wouldn't you have coffee with a friend? And, almost like here in the US, it's like, we feel like we have to really earn that. So what I want to say is that we all deserve it. It's all our birthrights. There's also really good science on, like, if you actually even just, I just Google, pleasure and weight loss, you'll see there's like actual science of what happens in your body's chemistry when you are in the pleasure zone and when you are not in a stress state, of what your body's potential is for nutrient, absorption. So we're spending all this money on organic food, but if you're stressed, you're not really absorbing it. Sorry, you're not. So it's like money going down the tubes. So it's very vital for us to have pleasure and joy in our life. So that's the first one, is just to start to, lean into this idea that it's not something you have to feel guilty about. It's actually really beneficial for your health. But I think one of the biggest things I would say to people when you're starting this journey of transforming your relationship with body and food from a more pleasurable and from a sense of sensuality is, as much as you can, as many meals as you can. You may not be able to do it 3 meals or every single snack. You might be able to do it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday. Oh my God, what happened? So as often as you can, I would invite people to just start to sit and be with their meals. Put something on a plate, not eating standing up, not eating in the car, not, taking little bites as you feed your toddler. Like, feed the toddler first, and then, even if it's something small, put something on a plate and sit and be with your food. Get into the place of being with your food.
So intentionally.
Intentionally eating your food. And just notice it. Like, take a moment, look at your food, look at the colors, smell the food. I don't think you have to eat in complete silence. I like to often have sometimes I eat in complete silence, and sometimes I have some music on that I like. But make it an experience for you. If you don't have half an hour, can you give yourself 10 minutes to sit and be with it? So we don't have to go to the, I would be perfect. I wish everybody could have 45 minutes to sit and be with their food, but that doesn't often happen. But maybe 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes to sit with your food with intention and actually enjoy the flavor, the taste, the texture, right? All of the senses to it, is going to be more beneficial to you than 10 minutes where you're standing and putting it in your mouth at the kitchen, or, rushing and eating it in your car. It's going to serve you on so many more levels. And just that, in fact, I will tell you, when I start working with a client, before I change anything that's on their plate, I change how they eat it. I say, we're going to work for the next few weeks on this. Like, you mean you're not going to give it? No, I'm not going to. No, we'll look at that and we might adjust some things. But for now, I just want you to be with what you're eating as often as you can and notice the difference, right? Notice how your digestion is after. Take note of how long it is that you're satiated, right? Notice the state you were in before you sat down. You know what I mean? And if you're coming from a rush day, like I had kind of a crazy morning, something as simple as just taking 5 deep breaths before you take that first bite can actually trick your body to think you're relaxed. Even if you just, you had a fight with your husband, or you just got an upsetting call about, the roof is going to need to be repaired. Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened, right? That kind of thing. That if you can take 5 deep breaths, you can actually trick your mind and your body into thinking you're in a relaxed state, even if you're really not. And one thing I want to say about that is you can even do that when you're out to eat with friends. Nobody will even know. If you're sitting there and your friend is talking, it's not like it has to be exaggerated. Like, you can be talking to me and I can just be suddenly I'm listening to you and I'm just taking in some breaths. And that will just sort of center you. But I would say that is the quickest place to start. Ironically, being slow is the quickest place to start. And again, doesn't have to be every time, because it's not going to be every time. But you'll start to notice the difference in how you feel on the days you do it and the meals you do it versus the meals that you don't do it.
Well, I think what you're saying is so true because, before we even spoke, I remember you saying to me, hey, can we push the interview a little bit because I need to eat? And I was like, you know what, let's take an hour instead, and that'll give you time. It's really funny that happened.
Yeah.
It's only because I've also been a lot more mindful in how I'm eating, because I recently saw a homeopathic doctor who was incredible, felt my pulse and was like, do you like sugar? Yes. But then the same thing that turned out was, okay, well, you have a kidney stone, and the kidney stone is because of this. You're not eating well. No, I'm eating well. He said, or you're rushing while you eat. And he said, so my challenge for me is exactly what you're saying, is I've been putting my plate down, and the big thing is chewing. So, the whole chewing 30 times, it's so difficult to practice, but it's amazing the flavors and the difference in my food since when I, first put it in my mouth. And you know me, I love my food. So to really have to slow down has been a really thoughtful process and intentional, but it really allows me to appreciate what's in front of me, but also appreciate and enjoy the time that I'm taking for this. Like, this is a really good self-care moment. So I definitely hear what you're saying. And I think, or I'm feeling, people really need to hear from this interview is that they need to be intentional no matter what. So we're not aiming for no pain, no gain sort of thing. We're aiming for intentional, slow, and thoughtful, and practicing self-love, self-care through this. And you're going to find fulfillment from the inside, and that'll just transform to the outside. And that's what we want.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you said that. And I love that you're practicing that. And you're right. I had that moment before I sent you a message where I was like, I felt it. I was like, I really need to eat, I could wait, and because we were originally going to talk at noon. Okay, we'll be done around 1. But I was like, you know what? Not today. My body just needs a little more fuel, and it's going to need it sooner. I don't think I'm going to be able to wait till 1. And then I won't be able to be, this is the thing about self-care, right? Because we think, oh, well, I got to do this. But my thought is if I don't do that for myself, then I'm not going to really be able to show up for you. I would be here, but my blood sugar would be low. I'd be winking. Maybe my thoughts wouldn't be as clear. And so you're not, I feel like, right, we don't take, what I'm trying to say, we don't often take that time for ourselves because we're afraid we're going to disappoint somebody else.
Exactly.
But in the end, they don't even get the best version of us.
No.
That just a little bit of time that we can give to ourselves. So now I can give you the best version of me. And hopefully for your readers, they get the best version of me and they get something out of that. And then they can give something. So it's a reciprocal effect. And we think it's so selfish. Selfish is a bad word, but it's self-full, right? And then something else can pour out of that. And so it is really ironic that that happened today. And now we're talking about that, you know? So when I said 30 minutes and you were like an hour, and I'm like, oh, an hour even feels better, you know, than 30 minutes. But, yeah, it was just one of those moments where I'm like, I just got to ask her for a little time because I need to get some nourishment.
And that's really what it's about, is knowing ourselves and honoring ourselves. And I think the people who are surrounded in your life will understand the same things. And if they don't, they're not the right people in your life. You want people who are going to help support you in whatever way you need, and you know, really, really be your cheerleader.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Anita, I wanted to thank you so much for today's interview. I was really nervous to get going, as you could see.
Oh, you're great. You're a great interviewer.
It was just such a great time and really great to connect.
You're a natural, girl. You're going to be killing these interviews. You already are.
Oh, you're so sweet. But I'm so thankful for you sharing your expertise in the area, because I think it's so important for people to really get that voice out. And for everybody that's watching and listening, I'll make sure to keep your website up with the information so that people can contact you. And
maybe they'll join us in Italy in September.
Oh, definitely, because it's going to be a party when we see each other again. Woo!
Oh, I'm so excited.
And if you guys are feeling at all any kind of struggle with your body image or your feeling of your relationship with food and want to change it, contact Anita. She is incredible.
Yeah, they can come on over to the site. I got some good stuff for you, and articles, videos, and resources to help you on that and make it a 2018 that, you know, any resolutions that you might have, I really, you know, kind of like a mixed relationship with that word, but just to come from a place of like really loving on yourself and already knowing that you're enough, and that anything else you do is just to help to take you and your life to the next level.
A perfect way to end it. I can have it exactly as I want it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.